writing a children's book. She's from Juta. So I'm very glad she's here tonight. Thanks, Sue.
Thank you, Deborah.
No.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Skoobs. I am not here as a Jewish person. I am here. Yeah, it's what you do. Yeah. You can tell it. Oh. Hi. Now. It's fine. Yeah. 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 As I said, I'm not here in my personal capacity in my day job. I'm in my other life as a friend of Alison and a colleague and healer. So welcome everybody. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce you to Alison Scott tonight. I met Alison at one of her workshops and we clicked over a chat about publishing because I worked in publishing and Alison had an interest to publish. Ever since then, it's been a wonderful experience, and seeing her book actually come to life today is the best. Alison has been a healer for many years, starting off in Durban in the year 2000, then her own practice in 2002. She has also been working internationally since 2007. Her interest in metaphysics comes particularly from her grandmom, who was also a student of metaphysics and who raised Alison. She currently conducts workshops around South Africa, USA, Canada, the UK, Australia, Norway, and the Netherlands. This book has been her own personal journey, and it is with joy and love that I get to introduce her to you. And I can say that I had many sleepless nights with that manuscript and many WhatsApp calls and messages and emails. And, can you please proofread this for me? And can you edit this? And can you please Google that, Nicole? So it has been a journey for myself, and thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alison, for having trusted me with your work.
First of all, they play a song. That's My Best Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. And then they introduced me on a lump. So it's a bit difficult because I get very emotional with these kind of things. So, thank you everybody for coming. This is a big day for me. I guess this was going to happen this fast. I'm sorry. I've got some very special people in my life here tonight, and some travel from far, so I want to say thank you for coming. So, thank you, Sue, for introducing me. This crazy lady does this kind of thing all the time for Juta, but she was totally beside herself when I said, can you do it for me? But this is for you, and I'm saying you do this every day. No, you don't understand, this is for you. You know, it was like, so I knew she was under a little bit of pressure there. Thank you so much. And words can't describe the connection with you. I think we've done many lifetimes together, you and I have no doubt in my mind, and that our journey is going to be forever, just so you know. So, I think Skoobs is an absolutely amazing place. I said they need to clone this and have one in Durban and clone this and have another one in Cape Town, because we were meant to have a 5-minute run down what we're going to do tonight yesterday. The meeting went on for 3.5 hours, and I think if she didn't have to go feed her dogs, we would have still been talking about this morning of all the ideas and all the things that she has. I mean, it's just absolutely mind-blowing. So those of you living in Johannesburg, you really need to connect with this community, even if it's just to learn from and not necessarily publish, but to learn from the authors, because this is absolutely amazing. Just as well it's not in Cape Town, because I think I'd be one of those obsessive compulsive people that have to be at everything, that attend everything, because it really, really got me excited. So, the book. This is the story of my life. I tried to put it into chapters, but it didn't work in chapters. So, and it was quite funny. It was you that told me. So I said to her, I know there's the loss, and then there's the healing. I just can't get what the middle section is. So this is Sue. She says to me, the transition, like the most obvious thing. So that's what I call the 3 sections, because the way that I've written the book is explaining about loss. And I didn't quite understand when I got the name Spiritual Chat on Death and the Loss of a Loved One. I trust when information comes through, but when I was really looking at it, I thought, isn't death the loss of a loved one? And then only when I went through my divorce in 2009, I realized, oh my God, divorce is a big loss that the body feels is death. The body thinks it's going through death, so the trauma is as big as if you are dying, even though you're not, okay? And then had friends who died, suicides. I realized I have to cover every type of loss, including abortion, miscarriages, adoption, because some people have a real, just by the way, just to correct, I wasn't adopted. I was a 1961 baby. So they just took you in the family, and then you grew up with your mother as your sister and your grandmother as your mother. So although it's the same situation, it wasn't a legal adoption, if you know what I mean. You just, and apparently there was a lot of that around in the 1960s. So anyway, I then also realized with adoption, so many people try to search for their parents, or the parents try to search for the children and never find them. And then they're really traumatized about that. And so I thought they need to know about soul contracts. You've got to understand something. I thought I was going to keep this really as normal as possible and not get weird. You know, try not to be all out there. And I realized I cannot tell the story if I'm not telling the story the way I experienced it. And it's out there. What can I say? You know? And it got to the point where I knew there would be some things that would offend people. And I said, I thought I need to write a write-up in the beginning. I can't remember exactly how I worded it, but it was something along the lines of, this is my experience. So whatever feels right for you, take. Whatever doesn't feel right, leave. But don't not read the book because something doesn't resonate with you, because maybe this is the message your loved one is trying to get to you. So I was hoping that gets past any people who may have reservations, because my idea was not to push buttons here. I wasn't trying to rock anybody's boat. I do not believe in pushing my beliefs on anybody else. I tried that when I was 19, because I've done I've done training of metaphysics and all that kind of stuff. So I was trying to tell everybody, oh my God, do you know you create your own reality? There's no such thing as the devil. And I realized with what I was doing, I was totally rocking their boat, but it didn't make them believe what I believed. And I realized I can't do this, because now instead of me making them feel better, I've actually made them feel worse. So I then decided I'm not going to do it that way. Those that want to hear about what I've been through, bring them to me. So when I lost my husband at 26, I already believed in reincarnation and life after death. I was way out of the box at that stage. And I mean, I've even seen documentaries that I don't know if they couldn't have been common everywhere, of people who'd suffered a near-death experience, etc. So I believed in all of that stuff. And then my husband died. And then I thought, okay, so I was believing all that, but now that I'm actually having a personal experience, I'm not so sure that's all true. And so I started asking for signs and asking for signs. I'm telling you, heaven goes, oh my God, I can't believe Alison's asking for signs, because we know we're going to get about 10 or 20 of them, to make sure each one, I haven't made up that to fit it in a box that it's okay. So then I started doing energy healing training, thinking I understood the loss of my husband, because I had more things, more tools to cope with it than most people. And so I thought, no, I've got everything absolutely fine. And then went to do the energy healing training in 2000. And when they were talking about the fact, would you like to take a seat? Are you okay there? When we were talking, so when they were talking about clearing grief from the energy system, I was like, what are they talking about? Because I'm the world's biggest skeptic. So when I hear something new, I challenge. Lucky I don't say it out loud, but you don't want to hear what's actually going on in my head. Like, seriously? And it can be cleared in this little 10-minute session? I don't think so. I need to discover the one thing that I used to get into trouble with at school all the time was giggling. It didn't matter if it was in the principal's office, if it was in an important speech in the middle of the prayer in assembly, or whether it was in the class with the really mean Afrikaans teacher, if I lost it, I lost it. So everybody knew, oh my God, there goes Alison again. I did not realize that I lost that when my husband died. I discovered that in 2000 when I was doing the energy healing training. And I said to them, I think I know what you're talking about. I'd like that treatment, please. Had the session, and I was giggling the very next day. And I was laughing so hard. These friends didn't know me as that type of person. And then they said to me, are you okay? Because it was like I was crying. I mean, lose it completely. And I said, oh my God, I'm back. I have to do this for others. So that was the commitment of I was going to be an energy healer. And then after that, with the journey of, because some people will attract people that have had a certain journey, other people will, which relates to them, and others will have different experiences. That's why I believe as therapists, etc., we are not in competition with each other. Each of us has a soul contract with somebody else that we are meant to have a connection with. So if there's 10 therapists in a row, I wouldn't feel threatened by anyone, because I know if those 9 weren't there and the person wasn't meant to come to me, they're still not going to come to me, you know. So the stories of some of the people with loss were so phenomenal that I thought, and every time I spoke to someone about loss, I would think, man, this is not just a story that they should be hearing. If I could take a megaphone and shout it to the world, everybody should know this information so they can move on after experiencing loss in their lives. We don't even know how well our bodies cope as a mechanism for survival. We shut down, shut down, shut down. It's like, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. Each time we have an experience, when we normalize, we think we've normalized back to where we were. You don't, you normalize where you are. So depression is where, that's why you can hear a person when they're depressed by the tone of their voice, because they literally are, I'm okay, you know. So when, as I was doing this, I just thought, you know what, I really need to write a book so that I can tell people stories. But I have to tell you, I thought I was going to be writing this book over there. So, if you lose a loved one through accident, it's pointless blaming the people who were involved, because they couldn't have been involved without a soul contract and bigger things going on, blah, 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 blah. But I went and read my book as a reader afterwards, and my reaction was, oh, that's okay for you to say, because you don't know what it's like for someone to die from someone else's error. And then I realized, oh no, I'm going to have to tell this exactly how my experience was, so they know I'm an authority on what I'm saying. I've had the experience, and this is what I've discovered. Then the book took on a whole nother level that I honestly think sometimes if I knew that's where it was going to go, I might not even have started. Because I actually revisited the death of my husband, the death of my gran, a whole lot of things that I would never have thought to open the door in such a way of telling other people. Do you understand? But when I read it now, and clearly it's inspired, because my intention was really clear about, I don't want someone to necessarily come to me for a session where I can help them. I want anybody around the world that cannot get anywhere near me to read the book and receive healing. And the feedback that I've been getting has been absolutely phenomenal, because it's much bigger than that. I mean, one lady who's been to me for sessions, actually this is really weird. I had a friend buy the book, but I try to get her to read the manuscript, like I've got Sue, but Sue I use more in a more professional way. But I was trying to get feedback from other friends. Just read the book and tell me if there's anything that feels like you need to know more or whatever. So this one girl, she couldn't read it. She said, I can't get past the first section and I'm just crying all the time. But when the book was published, she bought the book. But you know I'm still not going to read it. So I said, so you don't need to buy the book. She leaves the book on the dining room table of her home. Her 12-year-old son picks it up and reads it. Tells the grandmother, oh my gosh, you have to read Alison's book, because all these people have been to me for sessions. So the grandmother reads the book because she's absolutely blown away that the son read the book. I mean, what was he doing at 12 years old reading a book like that? She was so blown away, she bought it for every member of her family when they were going to Durban in December. This same friend of mine died on Sunday. And it was a huge, huge, huge shock. She was 40 years old and she died of a heart attack. The Sunday before, I get a WhatsApp from her saying, okay, I'm doing this today. I've got a tissue box open next to me and I'm reading the book. She then got her father to read the book before she read it. She said, I need to read the book, but I need you to read it first. So when one thinks that there's a much bigger scheme of things going on, don't tell me there's no synchronicity, because when I was at her home and all the family came down from Durban and Joburg, 90% of the people they knew who I was. So this is Varsha's friend. This is also the author of the book I told you about. So they'd either read it, they'd been lent the book, or the uncle who would have probably had a heart attack and died because he was very close to her, was halfway through the book at the point. He was in hospital with heart stuff at the time he got the news that she passed. So when I look at the bigger scheme of things, I think to myself, well, another friend said, well, remind me not to buy your book. Because, of course, you're going to get those that are going to say that. But I know there was a bigger scheme of things because she was going to go. I honestly believe you cannot die before your time. There's no chance you can die before your time. So the journey of the book is explaining coming to peace, the signs that you get from your loved ones. It's like if you're missing the person, you're feeling really bad that day, and then your song plays. Oh my God, can you beat me up anymore? In the meantime, that's them telling you they're with you. And I still get signs to this day from my late husband. My granddaughter was born two and a bit years ago. And on that day, I was so emotional because I wanted to know, my grand, do you know that the baby's had a baby? And my son, do you know the baby's had a baby? And I was watching I had a Long Island medium thing recorded. And I thought, oh, let me watch this that night. Let me watch this. And blow me down if it wasn't, my son was 2 years old when his dad died. It was a story of this boy she was giving a reading to, whose father had died. He was, I think, 28 or something. My son was 29 at the time. And he had 2 children. The father had died when he was 2 years old, in case I missed the point. And the father was telling him, I know about the children, I know about this, I know about that, and I know about what's happened now. Needless to say, I burst out crying because I knew that was confirmation. Because John Edwards also says, excuse me, John Edwards also says that if you hear of something and it relates to your story, your loved ones piggyback on somebody else's story. So there's no such thing as, we just miss too much stuff when we actually, excuse me, when we're actually getting lots of confirmation in our lives about what's going on, and that they are always, always with you. Are you giving me a sign yet, or I'm carrying on? Because I said I could talk about this stuff all night. You better give me a sign when the time is running out. So the first part is I'm also giving you information about the signs that they give you and what my experience was. And some of it was really freaky. In the way of this one particular thing, the night my husband died, it was New Year's Eve, 1987. And so everybody was so distraught, but they said, we're not leaving you in the house, we're going to the LA hotel. Now, all my life I wanted to go and be at, where there's a disco, but we were just sitting in the lounge. So everybody was toasting his life, and I was just so over it that I thought, let me just go to the bathroom. Now, I've been to that hotel 1,000 times. The bathroom section, you cannot hear music from anywhere. Okay, it's like you go and you close the door and you hear nothing. So I'm in there and I'm hearing the song and I'm thinking, what is this? Why is there music playing? So I wasn't actually listening to the words. I was just hearing this music coming through. But it really resonated, except I wasn't in a state of mind to do this. So my uncle decides the next morning he's got to go buy some part for his car, and he drags us all with, because get Alison out the house. So we stop at a place in Alice Street, I think it's called Atlas Motors or something, and the next thing, this car pulls up with this music, the woof, 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 where the doors are rattling, and it's the same song from the night before. It's not a kind of song that you play full ball. So I said, that's a song I heard last night at the LA. So my niece says to me, at my cousin, see, it's all confused, cousins, nieces, I only really accepted the whole thing when I was 19, so I've got brothers, nieces, nephews, it's very confusing. Anyway, so my cousin says to me, I've actually got that song, I really think you need to listen to it. And it was called Always by Atlantic Star. That song is telling you that they're still there with you. I mean, it was a complete message of him saying he was still there with me. So the journey, because I got involved with somebody else, and then it went, then it was the movie Always. Funny, hey? The song is Always, the movie Always. I never saw that. I saw Ghost, and it was a really great story, but it was like a story about loss. But it wasn't really something that was a big deal for me. But come, I think it was 1991, December 1991 or 92, and I go to, I'm busy writing Christmas cards, and I hear a song because Radio 5 used to play their brand new song on a Sunday morning. And I hear the song From the First Note, and it's the one called I'll Be There by, it's not called Breakfast Club, I always want to say Breakfast Club, I'll think about it, but it's called I'll Be There. Now the whole song is I'll Be There, on the thing of the wave, on the wind, on the, you name it, it is completely from the person on the other side. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? We went camping at Midmar that over New Year. Now this song has just been released on Radio 5, so it's clearly not available everywhere. Kids in the caravan behind us played that about 10 times a day for 10 days. Okay, I get home, it's on the 2nd of what's name, 2nd of January. The weather was foul, so my husband decides he's going to go get a couple of videos from the video store. And so he gets, what's the one where you peel your, the weird guy? The psycho. I can't remember this, I'll think about it. It's the one with the, with Close, Glenn Close. Fatal Attraction. So he gets that, and I said, you watching that by yourself, I want nothing to do with that, you're going to have nightmares for days. And he gets Always. So he knows I cry in movies. He just didn't get the fact I was howling through this from the beginning to the end, because in this movie with Richard Dreyfuss and Holly Hunter, the whole story is about the fact that he dies, and then he's told, okay, now you're not allowed to move on until you help another fighter pilot, because they used to fight fires in Canada. You have to train him. But it starts off in the training school, and then he ends up being put in the same place where Richard Dreyfuss had been, and falls in love with Richard Dreyfuss's girlfriend. And the whole story is how he keeps interfering. So there's a romantic moment, and he makes sure that when she's fast forwarding the music, their song comes on. And all the interference that he pulled off the whole time, how he'll like cuddling her the whole night so that she can't be with this guy. It was just absolutely mind-blowing. And then right at the end, he realizes that she needs to move on with her life, and so he's now comes to her in a dream or something to say he's saying goodbye, or something happens with her where she's under the water and she sees him, and that it's a goodbye. I know that was a message to me to say he's now letting go and he's moving on, because I have seen that movie. Every time it comes on, I go to check. I look at it now like it's Ghost. It's just a movie. But I know. And so with me totally hysterical and crying about this movie, I now leave my husband in the room to watch the Fatal Attraction. So he did not know what went on in the lounge. I was able to speak to my grandmother and tell her, you won't believe what's happened, this and this and this and this and this. And I was absolutely blown away. So if you feel that much, it cannot be made up in your head. As much as if you think you're questioning it, trust me, I would have questioned it 1,000 times more. But I absolutely know what I know, And I don't expect you to believe this is my story. I'm just putting out there, so something resonates with you, plug it. Ask for signs. You will not believe how you'll get the sign. I'm still waiting for one of those fly-by banners. But I have had where I was asking for a sign for something from my grand, because one of her main things that she used to say, I am that I am, which is a huge spiritual statement, okay? And the one day I was like, I really needed a sign, and this refrigeration Pentechnican truck went past, and on the bumper sticker was, I am that I am. And it was like, there's no ways there was a bumper sticker. Nobody would even understand what that means. So when you ask for signs, you get some, you get some, and then you get some. Just keep plugging it until you're exhausted, you realize it's got to be true. So I'm very happy. I'm open to questions because I think I've covered everything. So one of the things I just want to share, one of my friends, which actually started the book, I woke up one morning and I was writing. I just started writing, and I never thought Spiritual Chat on Death and the Loss of the Loved One would be the first book because I had a whole list and that wasn't anywhere at the top. And this friend lost her son. I wrote it on Friday, the stuff that I'd written. On the Saturday, I get a phone call at 6 o'clock in the morning to say her husband and her son had been killed in a hit-and-run accident in France, and they were leaving that day for the wedding of the other son that was living in France. And so I said to her, oh my gosh, you are why I wrote all this stuff down. And I read to her what it was. She said, please will you type it up and send it to me. And so once I did that, this came through at the end. And I know, although I feel it was a message for his son, I know that everybody needs to know this. So if a loved one who passed could speak to you one more time, they would probably say, I'm sorry that I had to do this to you and cause you so much pain, but it was my time to go and I'm really fine now. Don't forget me. Talk about me often, as this brings me close to you. I'm just a thought away. In the silence, you will feel and hear me. Still do the things we used to do while thinking of me, and I will be there. Don't feel bad about the things we should have or should not have said or done, because it all looks okay from where I am, as it was exactly how it was supposed to be. The love and bond we shared never dies and will go on for always. I love you. So I know that was clearly a bit of channeled information because the wording was just too perfect. So, and I just think everybody should know that alone. When I've had this banner up anywhere, people have come to me and said, can I please just take a photo of that? Then I know I chose the right words to be here. Take a photo of that and take a photo of that because this has happened to someone. I said, you can take a photo, send it as far as wide as you like. I don't mind. Because the idea behind this is not, I don't feel everybody needs to read the book or whatever. I just want the word to travel. And did you know I read something here and this is what she said. This is what her experience was. So that it can make a difference in people's lives around that. So, Skoobs sent kind of a suggestion of some questions and answers, some questions, and they're quite nice because it shows the journey as well. And then I'll open up to questions with all of you, if that's okay. You're okay?